Hello, all, and welcome to the Low-Code Café. This is episode number 189 for August 27, 2025. Today, we're going to talk about getting the date and time right in low code, and I hope that we're able to be of assistance to you as you design and work with your applications. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantain App, and joined today by Manu from our product team. And Manu, if you can open up your mic, tell us your title too, because I'm struggling on that. But do say hello to us if you can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Nice to meet you. Well, let's say, yeah, product, but I do in other things like testing and other stuff.
perfect. Well, this is Manu's first time to be second chair on the Low Code Cafe, so he'll be watching our Q&A and the um, the chat channel. So if you have anything, he'll call it to my attention. This is an event that we do every Wednesday, excuse me, one Wednesday per month, always at 10 a.m. Central Time US. And it's just an update, a monthly update of our what's going on with Plantain App, and mostly it's about doing some hands-on low coding and providing some information that's useful to you. We do record all of these and put them on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plantainapp. So definitely recommend that you subscribe there. Agenda day today, pretty simple. I'm going to do a From the Trenches of Support segment to show some things about updates and what's coming. So what's been released and what's coming, and then we'll devote the most of our hour to hands-on low coding and the date time topic. But do engage with us. Find that chat window, find the Q&A, raise your hand. We'll let you talk. And then at the very end, there'll be an opportunity to do a feedback form. As I mentioned, we do these on the last one Wednesday of every month, so the next live webinar is scheduled for September 24. All right, so we dive in. Currently, we have our current version is 1.27. We have the 1.26, which has been around for a long time, released June of 2024, and it's still within its supported until the end of this year. Then 1.27 is out. It is if you install the hotfixes, it is good and stable. We highly recommend that you start moving in that direction if you're not already on 1.27, released in mid-June. So, as is our custom, we take some time and look at the hotfixes. I'm mentioning 126 particularly today because there is one hotfix since we last got together. It's we in late in 126 we released Razor tokens, so a new the ability um, to do a newer experimental but more up-to-date version of Razor tokens, and that will become our standard as we go forward. But apparently there was a problem with importing tokens, and so if you're doing that, you're welcome to install this hotfix. Just a reminder, with hotfixes, it's as simple as saying I want to install all and clicking the install button, and I'm going to let that go on. I have another system here that's hotfixes for 127, and this system, I believe 1.27.347, that's the way it was released, and so I think this is the first time that I've brought this one to Low Code Cafe. And so there's a lot of hotfixes to install, and I'm going to get that started as well. A lot of things here and too many to go into. You're welcome to look at the details of any one of them or all of them, but my recommendation is to install them all. And you're going to find with this particular release that once you say that you're going to install them and once it works its way through, there's a couple more that get released automatically as well. So come back after you install the 127 initial hotfixes and look for those as well. Um, the I wanted to bring up a new technical topic, administrative topic. We are going away from, and I'll show you, we have in the later versions of 1.27, you're going to see this hotfixes tab is now going to be called hotfixes obsolete. And the reason is that we're changing to a cumulative hotfix approach. The old approach let you install individual hotfixes as you wanted to, and even within that, you could pick a particular version that you wanted to install. And the problem for us and for you is that this opens up the ability for many permutations of products being installed, and sometimes that caused issues. So instead of that, we're going to a cumulative hotfix approach, and I'll have some here for you by next time that we get together. But the idea is that there will be a hotfix listed, one hotfix that includes many things, and it's either install all or install none. And so you still are in control of what you decide to install, but it does give you, so you're in control, but it's much like other large companies like Microsoft do. It's a cumulative hotfix. You don't get to pick and choose, and then that becomes a more stable choice. So next time we'll have some to install. It's really the same process. You'll have the ability. There will be a button to say yes, I want to install this hotfix. It will you'll be able to see all of the different things that are fixed and changed within it, and then the whole thing gets installed. So that is coming in later versions of 1.27. Back to my 1.27 system that I had done that I clicked the updates for here. Maybe it'll finish up. When it does, again, there's a couple more updates that are available, and I want to go ahead and get those installed. All right, here it is. Even still, notice now this system now has cumulative hotfixes. Uh, Gee, I wish I'd known that. I could have just done it this way. So now we can see that there's cumulative hotfixes for all these different ones, and you just view them and install them, and it installs everything. So uh, for example, we can see what's included in this one. And by the way, there are a lot more details, a lot more information being provided. And so hopefully this will let you know give you the information that you need before you install them. So that's the cumulative hotfix process. And I'm just going to put that aside for now. But uh, when we come, when we get together again in a month, it will be all those will be the ones that are there. We'll talk about and get them released for you as well. Okay, so let's close out of a lot of that stuff. That's what I wanted to talk about with updates. And so we'll move on. Um, one of our one of our weekly events is the Low-Code Campfire. It's an event that we do every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And this is an opportunity to talk with your peers, ask questions, get solutions, and join our very rich community. So let me get all the links for this, and we'll put them on the chat. So if you find your chat, you should have the ability to see all the links. So you can register for the Low-Code Campfire using the link that's there. Also, a link to our YouTube channel, the community portal, where you can ask questions that are not just answered by our support team, but also your fellow low coders. And a link there, you can give us some feedback if there's something that you'd like to say about this, or something you'd like this event, or something you'd like to see another time. And then we're going to be talking a lot about date and time, and there's a link there about into our documentation about some special notes on date and time now, which we'll get into, but today. But I wanted you to have that and be able to look at it yourself. And so, without further ado, let's get into getting date and time right in low code. So, yeah, let's see if we can make some sense of this. Why date and time handling matters. Uh, your your the portals that you built are being can be accessed by people from multiple time zones. You might be designing it with just one time zone in mind. It might be a very local site, and so it's not really an issue for you until your use of it expands, and then you have people from other time zones or across the world accessing the site, and maybe you don't get the result that you're hoping for. So this is all about trying to anticipate that need. It's not that hard, but doing it right in the front saves you trouble in the back. If you don't do it right, it can lead to confusion. You can have log records that show up out of sequence. So you have a log that shows who did what when, and it looks like, maybe the things that happen that show up later in the log are actually happened first. And so, logs are very useful, but you got to keep them in order. So that makes it difficult to troubleshoot. And it's just simple. I mean, you can fix it if you haven't done it right, but it makes it easy if you do it up front. So that's where we're going today. So we want to understand what's going on with date and time. That'll be part of our agenda today. There's different field types that are available, so understanding what your options are. We'll do some demonstrations about doing some logging on different time zones, and then look at some strategies that you can use and talk about some best practices. So here we go. Um, some of the challenges that go on with date and time is that there's server time, user time, UTC time, times in other time zones. There's and if that isn't enough to confuse you, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happens when daylight savings time changes get involved. Uh, thought I had it, thought I could present it today, still don't have it. So um, maybe that'll be a future episode. But uh, being able to understand what's going on with these things, and then being able to do time zone conversions, thinking about it in terms of you're going to store things one way, how are you going to display it? They're not necessarily the same thing. And bottom line, when you walk away, we're going to have consistent and auditable logs in your database when you need a log. So here's kind of where we're going to end. UTC, Universal Coordinated Time, is a consistent worldwide standard, and our recommendation is that you use that in place of any of the other kinds of times. If you store things in UTC, it's very easy to get it uh, just to display it in local time, both in your forms and your listings. But it ensures that everybody's using, even though you have people using a site from different places, you're all using the same instant in time when you're doing activities. Um, one of the one of the concepts that we're going to get into is the date time with an offset. And this is where it stores both the date and the time that you choose that you're logging, but it also says how far off you were from UTC at the time. So where I am in Central Time, that is -5 hours from UTC. Somebody working in New York, they would be -4 hours from UTC. And so when you store a date time in that format, you'll be able to see what their offset was. And so we'll see an example of that. And just a suggest, I mean, it's our recommendation is don't rely on server times alone. I'm going to be working well, let's see. We'll demonstrate on a server that has a server time. Let's see. Yeah, I think actually the server that we're going to be using today is the server time is also set to UTC time. That's our plant and app standard. But some people set the server time to a different time zone, and then you have these three different times you're dealing with. What's the user? What time does the user see? What time is on the server? What time is UTC? And it starts getting confusing. So we have two different kinds of field types for date and time. There's actually several different field types, and we'll take a look at all of them, at least mention all of them. But um, when you're setting up an entity, there is the date and time field type, and that is stored in SQL. The technically it's called a datetime 2 field, and it's great for logging events in UTC time. And then if you choose the local date and time as the field type, the field in SQL it's stored as a date time offset. Again, both of these store date and time, but this is good for auditing the time of the local user. You can see the difference when a user sets something in one time zone versus another. You can tell that piece of information too, and yet still keep things uh, sorting in order. All right, so we're going to be doing some demonstrations. We're going to be using some entities and forms and listings, and depending on how much time we have left, we'll get into some tokens as well. So, what goes wrong with local times? If you just store date time now, users in different time zones are going to show different times, and that's going to be a spot where records can appear out of order, and and that gives you the difficult to audit scenario. So let's explore a little bit for different users using these tokens. And if you're not familiar with the tokens, these are documented in that link that was included earlier, and we'll come back to that. But let's grab these and take a look on a system. This is my demo system for the year 2025 here. We come back to this month by month. We go into the configuration area, and we'll take a look at what these tokens yield. So the tokens area, there is a test tokens functionality, and I'm just going to paste all those tokens in there. And so we're going to get three different results. Um, Trying to find this is showing me that my date time now is 3:17 p.m., which is interesting because my time is actually 10:18. Um, it's showing the UTC time as 3:17 p.m. and the ISO is the one that has daytime ISO is the one that has this hours adjustment, and it's showing that the daytime ISO is also 3 p.m. Uh, with a fractional seconds and then um, a a zero offset. So this is showing the time UTC time uh, as well, zero offset. But it's interesting, we're already starting out that my date time is doesn't agree with what I would expect to see. So let's start there. Why is that? Um, if you look at first of all, what user am I? I'm going to look in my drop down here, shows me my user, which is thought it was. If I look at users and um, look at my profile, there's a setting in here where you can say what time zone you'd like to have. It's in under preferences, and so it is preferred time zone. I'm set for International Dateline West, which is probably the same thing as UTC. I can only assume because that's what it was coming up. But if I pick that I wanted UTC, where is it? Central Time. Where did it go? Eastern Time, Central Time, US and Canada. So I'm changing my preference and saving it. And then this may be an instance where we don't see the change until we clear cache. So I'm going to just preemptively do a clear cache if this saves, when this saves. While that's working, I'm going to look. I've got another system ready to go here. Yeah. And so we'll be doing it another user from a different time zone by way of a server that's set to a different time zone. And I have no idea why this is taking so long. But it did save, so that's interesting. And so again, I'm going to preemptively do a server clear cache since I changed that time zone because I just want to make sure it displays this very clearly here in our test tokens area. So we have these same set of tokens and we'll run it. And now we see date time now is showing at 10:21 a.m. So now we're seeing a difference. And so if you were relying on datetime now, it's a great thing to say what time is it, show the user their current time, for example. But if you're using that for a database entry, you might be in trouble. All right, let's go ahead and work on getting a new user set up so that we can view this from another time zone and another perspective. Um, bear with me while I get this set up. And I'm going to call this user the NYC user. And set up a password here. And I'm going to not worry about rights today, give me rights to everything so I can see things. And so now that we have this, one of PlantinApp's features is the Impersonate user feature. So I'm going to copy this link so that I can just simply log in without even having to do user and password on that other system. So I have a system here. I'm going to close all the other tabs. Uh, it's actually set up for Romanian, so it's a lot, my menu's a little confusion here. But anyway, we'll paste this and we'll get into that same system and logged in as uh, this different user. And so now we can try to experience those same um, things. This is let's see. I'm gonna shy away from the. Well, I don't know. Let's see if I can do this. We'll activate it. In 1.27, there is concept called developer seats, and we have to be signed in as a developer with our account in order to access the configuration menu. So I'm going to activate my developer seat and go to tokens. And let's see if we use the same token. Datetime now. And now we're seeing 3:24 p.m. Again, this user was set up with probably the system default is this international date line. And so we're going to go to users and change their profile. And this one. So you're already seeing that some of these things can, yeah, defaulted to International Dateline. We're going to put them in Eastern Time, US and Canada, update. And let's see if we go back to the user. Uh, Now we see there it's showing time is showing 11:25, which agrees with the system clock of this site. So we're already seeing that datetime now is very subjective. All right, let's put that away and stick um, with our site. We have a mechanism where we don't allow a developer seat to be shared across different users. So I had to reactivate that again. I don't think um, that we'll be experiencing that anymore today, but let's see. All right. So that's just kind of one aspect that datetime now can be very subjective. I wanted to look at this documentation. I pointed you to it earlier in the link, and it explains what's going on with datetime now and how it applies. So I take a look at this and make sure you understand it. It's having to do with the user preferred time zone. But if you're working not in the perspective of a user, then it's coming from the site time zone. So this might be like if they're logged out or in other cases. And so look for the site settings time zone to see what datetime now is going to return. There's a whole lot of other great information about the different things, and this is what we'll get into later on, but the different things and the expected values of given tokens. And so you can see how to get different date formats, how to add and subtract from dates, how to get them formatted the way that you want to, any different format that you want to, that are lots of all the different date components. So definitely worth a look there. All right, moving on. So let's do a use case. We want to do a log. We're going to log every time that a particular button is clicked, and we're going to do it from different time zones. So we're going to see what the problem is, and so we're going to do it wrong the first time. We're going to do it using datetime now. So let's see what that looks like. Um, the first thing is that we're going to do an entity. And so we'll go into our site and do an entity and create a simple one. Actually, um, I'm going to file these away under demo. So I'm going to create a page to put these things. So here we go on that. We need a page, and we have our demo page, and we're going to create a new page for uh, I'm FA 189, I think this is. And let's see, everyone can view this page, and we'll make it where our developer roles can edit the page. And so what that does then now is we have this demo page added, an empty spot for us to start to work. All right. And then from an entity perspective, we're going to create this log entity. It's going to be called button log. And so we'll do a new entity. And I'm going to put it under this same page that I just created so that we know where to get to it. And it's going to have just a couple of properties. It's going to have a log information property, which is just going to be text. And I'm also going to make that the clickable drill down property. And we're going to have another one that is log date time. And for property type of this, I'm going to pick date and time. But I want you to notice that there are other ones here: date, date and time, local date and time, time UTC. Lots of choices to do. Um, these first two we talked about. This is the one where it's best for UTC and doesn't have a hours offset to it. This is the one that has an hours offset to it. You can also use date, which is just purely it will only store a date, not a time component. And this is great for recording things like birthdays or historical dates. When did something happen? You don't have to worry about time or time shifting depending on the user's perspective. It's all a date is a date is a date. And then this is time is the same thing. This is if you just want to specify a moment and a time without it, like I want to go to lunch at noon, you could specify just a time component that doesn't not associated with a date. It'll never move or be adjusted depending on where you're looking at it. It's just a time. UTC time is going to be subject to some conversion, and I'm not excited about that one to talk about, at least for today. So anyway, today we're doing, for this particular exercise, we're doing date and time, the one that's good for UTC, and we'll save. When I look at this on the front end, Plantain App has created some stuff for us. So now we have the button logs um, area, and we could create a new record and add information. For example, I'm just going to say test and pick out uh, a very early hour in the day and hit add, and it will show me that information. So one of the guiding principles, if you're trying to figure out how to do date and time, when you do when you do an entity and it creates the form and the list of the various forms and the listing and things for you, the results that you get are all consistent and are all the way that we recommend that you do them. So if you just take advantage of the create, read, update functionality that we create, or at least take a look at it, you can see how we recommend configuring it, how we recommend interacting with it. But that's the shortcut. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to build our own form that's going to log information a um, when we click a button. First, I'm going to get rid of that annoying HTML block that we don't need, and then we'll add an action form to the page. And on this, we're going to manage it and create some buttons. So this is going to be the button form. So start out from a blank form. Well, I like to name things so they have meaningful names, and we're going to add a button. The button is going to be called button A, and the actions that are associated with that are that we want to run some SQL. We're doing our own thing, so we're interacting with this entity, but doing it not through the actions that Plantain Apps created for you, but maybe you want to interact with it with SQL. So we're going to do run SQL, and we will be log the click of the button. What's our comment? And we're going to do an insert statement here. In the interest of time, I've already developed an insert statement that we can use, but I'll just point out that one way that if you want to figure out, I mean, if you're good at SQL, you don't have to, you know exactly what to do, but we have this functionality in SQL console, the button log, there is a create insert functionality, and this gives you the form of doing an insert that does all the fields with all the values. And so this is the template that you could use. It's actually the template that I did use when I was developing this. But I just want to set the date and time and the log information. And the date and time that I'm going to use, actually, this is not the one I want to use. I'm going to say that we're going to use because I want to demonstrate doing it the wrong way. Doesn't matter what I call it, but I'm going to do a bind parameter where I can say the date is date now. And so when we click the button, it's going to substitute date time now and put that into this SQL. And then in the same way, log information is going to come from here. And I've got one pretty much set up here. So I'm going to copy and paste it to keep things moving along. It just says that the user, and then whatever their user ID, has clicked button A and the date time now that they did it, and it's added via the run SQL method. That's what we're doing. So this is kind of going to give us some nice information in the log. And so yeah, that's it. By not having an additional statement after this, the whole page is going to refresh, and so we're going to see our information instantly. So let's see what happens. We go back to our page. I'm going to close out of edit mode. We don't need that anymore. So we have our one test record here. I click button A, the whole thing refreshes, and we see user 2 clicked A at 10:36 a.m., which aligns with my system time. The log date that's showing is 5:36 a.m., so that's a little confusing. And that is happening because this listing is configured to convert things into user time. If we look at the log date time data field, this is the format of the time it's going to show, which is nice, but it's trying to convert it to user time. So it's assuming that the time was recorded in UTC, and so it's applying a conversion to us, and it makes no sense. All right, let's go to the same URL on our New York City system. We'll just go to the URL and we click button A. And so now we see user 3 clicked A at 11:37 a.m. And it is on their system, it's 11:37 a.m. So that's good. And then it's showing me this, this other time here. And so which doesn't align with anything. So back to my central time system. I now refresh, and so we're seeing when we look at this log and date and time, it's showing a gap of an hour between these two times when actually it was just a minute or two. And I'm going to click button A again, the fourth record, and so we see user 2 clicked it at 10:37 a.m. and it shows at 5:37 a.m. We sort, I didn't do this. So here we go. We go to entities. I want to have this button log be sortable by time. So I'm going to go back and click sortable on the log date and time. Save and merge that. And so now we can start to see the confusion. If we sorted an order by log date and time, it looks like that user 2 clicked things first and then user 3 clicked something much later, and yet we know from experience what we just watched that this was not the right order. So this is where you can get into trouble. We're using date time now. If we look at the definition of my button form, another of the ways that we could have done this SQL would have been to use the server time. And that is, instead of providing it here as a um, function, as a inserted bind token, we could have used the function get date, which is a SQL function, and it would have used the server time. If the server time didn't happen to agree with UTC time, we'd still be in trouble. So let's fix this with, there is the Get UTC date, it's going to do things in UTC time always. Okay. Sorry to jump around. Before we go any farther, I just wanted to explore a little bit. Let's take a look at what data is actually in this table. So I'm going to go to my button log and do a select, run the query. And so we can see all our data, and then we can see the actual values that were entered. So we can see 50, one thing, the one that we did through our through the Plantain app form, did it in UTC time, it did it right. But then this one is 1036, another 1137, another one 1037, and you can see that they're out of order. So we can see the data that's there and that's all over the place. That's our first four records. So now we're going to improve this to use Get UTC Date when you click the button. And let's see what the end result of that change is. So now we refresh the form, and I'm going to put them back in order by ID so it doesn't get too terribly confusing. Click button A. So now we see user 2, and I clicked it at 10:41 a.m., and it's showing me that it's 10:41 a.m. That's because of the conversion. Again, let's look at our SQL. We run and see that this latest record happened. It's recording it at interesting. Oh, I did this one. I did this wasn't the time. This was the time that I set manually. So this is nonsense. This is UTC time, and it's showing the correct time. So even though it's recorded as 3:41 in the afternoon, when it displays, it shows it in my time, 10:41 in the morning. So now I'll see this from our New York perspective. And again, this is what we're trying to deal with, that we have uh, users coming from all over the world. Well, this user sees it, even though I did it at 10:41. This user, because it's being converted, it's stored as UTC time, and then when it's displayed, it's taking into account the user and their browser and their settings. It's converting it to user time, and so they see this in a sensical way. This means something to them. It's showing it in current time. If this user clicks, they can see that they're doing it at their perspective 11:42. It's happening at 11:42. We go back and look at it on the central time system. It's showing me from my perspective, but it's showing me the correct, it's been a minute and a half, not an hour. So that's doing it in SQL using Get UTC Date. Let's also try to take advantage of the Plantain app actions. So I'm going to clone this button and call it button B. And instead of doing this run SQL query, I am going to do it. I'm going to delete this action and instead use the create new functionality. So when you do an action, when you do an entity, it creates various actions. And so I'm going to create a new button log record. The log information for this, let me just steal it from my prepared system. But the log information is going to be this. Click B at whatever date time now was, but we're doing it with the create new functionality. And then instead of just when you're using, and this is kind of a rule, when you're using our actions, the create new action or the update action for an entity, you should always use an ISO date. So date time ISO will, this is the format that any date time field is expecting. And so long as you pass it an ISO date, you're good to go. So I'm going to save this. Let's do a little bit of layout work, put these buttons side by side, button A and button B. refresh the page. So now if I click button B, it's doing it via this create new. It did it at 10:44 and it did it in the correct time format. It stored it as UTC. It took that ISO date, got converted to UTC, and we're good to go. All right, that's about as far as I'm going to go with the date time field. It's a great time if you have questions. I'm going to make sure that I hit everything I wanted to. So we did the problematic first attempt and kind of demonstrated the problem. We now changed it over to store it based in UTC, and it prevents the confusion. We're displaying in the user's time zone, but we're storing it in UTC. All right. And then let's take a look at another use case. This is a case where we're going to do a financial transaction. And in some cases, the auditing of this is not the only reason to use it, but it's a good case. In some cases, you want to be able to, with a financial transaction, also be able to say, um, what time did the user perceive when they were doing this thing or placing an order or whatever it is. And with date time, you only see the UTC time, and it doesn't give any indication. It indicates an instant in time, but it doesn't say what the user was perceiving it as at that time. So we're going to record the exact local date and time when the user places an order, and we're going to keep both the time and the UTC offset for auditing. So we're going to do that by way of a new entity, and it's going to use local date and time, which again is the date time offset, and we'll see it record it. And this one was really pretty easy, so we'll get there quite quickly. It's done by way of a financial transaction entity. So we're going to create a new entity. Called financial transaction. We'll do it with an S to get the plural, and we're still going to put it underneath our page that we've prepared. The properties that we want is, we're going to call this the name of this financial transaction, just doesn't matter what we call it. And we're going to say it's the order placed date. And this is going to be a local date and time. So now we're going to see this taking advantage of the other field type, and I'm going to make them sortable so I don't have to come back and do that later.
We have a short question from Jim. I don't know if you want to look at it now. What happens if
Yeah. So it's a great question, Jim. So when you have and we'll see this here in just a second, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. This is back to the previous thing. When the question is when you're using a date time field and you're trying to use the create new action, what happens if you use datetime UTC versus datetime ISO? So again, in the create new entity functionality, let's see this one here. We're doing create new button log. This always expects, and I know it might be a little inconsistent, but anytime you're doing a date time, you have to pass it an ISO field. And so use datetime ISO. What happens when you do that is it knows knows your local time and the times offset, which still amounts to a UTC time. And because the field it doesn't have a offset to it, it knows to convert it automatically to UTC. So you must use ISO, and it gets stored as UTC if it's a datetime 2, if it's a date and time field type, if it's a uh, local date and time, local meaning it has a local offset to it. You still use datetime ISO, and it still stores it as it stores it with that component, and that's what we're about to see. So hopefully that clears it up. If not, maybe my example will. So we have this order place date. I think we're ready. We were just ready to save, and so we'll save it. And now when we refresh, we can wander down into our demo page and get to financial transactions. Now this one, we're going to be logging some financial transactions, and so we're going to have the name of the transaction and the date that it was placed. I'm going to make one small change to this form, so the financial transaction form that was created automatically. What I want to do is in this order place date, it's um, and if you follow along with our logic, this same form gets used for both add and update. And so the initial value here is that if the form is in edit mode, original has some value that is the date that the order was placed. And it is in ISO format. Uh, it doesn't have any default, and so by default, if it's in add mode and it doesn't have an original, it's a blank value, and so the field comes up blank. I don't want it to come up blank, so I'm going to provide a default. So when you have a token, if you do equal sign and add anything, in this case I'm going to add a token, but you can use other values. But I'm going to default it to be the current ISO time. And so this small change now kind of gives the functionality that I'm hoping for. So when I do a new record, it shows, it defaults it to my current time. And note that the daytime ISO, let's go back and review tokens. Daytime ISO looks like this. with a with an offset and a time. So it looks nothing like the way it got displayed here. The display is controlled by the settings on the order place date where the format was selected. So you could pick, uh, for example, if I wanted it to include the day of the week, I could choose a long time format and refresh here. And when it displays, it shows it that way. The way it shows is really just, it gets initialized from an ISO date, and then when we save it, uh, so I create my record. We can see that it's still showing 10:53 a.m. for me. Um, when I let's take a look at this in SQL. I go to SQL console and take a look at my new entity, my financial transaction entity. And so the order place date, we can see it was placed at my local time of 10:53:01, but with a -5 offset. So it is ends up specifying something that can be converted back to UTC time, but it is also specifying something that makes sense. It was done at my 10:53:01. So now it's time to bring New York into the picture. If we go to this same form, financial transactions, and look at it, when we see the display is being converted to user time, so we're seeing it as 11:53 in New York, which is correct, but it's stored in uh, it, it's in the it keeps the 1053 of when I did it. If we buy some shares here from New York, and at my local time, 10:50, 11:55 a.m., 11:50, whatever, that we see visually, we can see this happens at just a minute and change apart. Again, going back to our central time system, we can see that it happened just a minute apart. So it's maintaining visually what we expect it to. This is informative to from our perspective as we look at it. Yet when we run the query, we can see that the transaction was recorded at 11:54 in the -4 offset. So this will sort nicely and work as you expect it, but can be converted to a local time when you view it in listings. Okay, so that's as far as I'm going to go. Hopefully, Jim, that answered your question, but always use the ISO. So now I have, let's see if I can go back to make sure I don't miss anything here. We did that. So now I guess here's the summary spot. The recommendation is always store times in UTC and use, if you're doing SQL, you can use Get UTC Date function. If you're doing low code, you can use datetime ISO. It gets converted to the user's time zone for display purposes. There's other things that we can help you with that here in a minute. For auditing local moments, that's the thing we were just doing, that legal financial, you can lean towards local date and time field type. If you're doing logging of and you're just kind of log records of when things happen and you don't really care about um, the datetime offset, you just want to know from a UTC perspective, when did this happen, then the datetime field type is your better type. And it's a little bit smaller, probably easier to index, and probably in very large systems could be a little bit of savings. Say large systems, large record counts would be some savings. And like anything else, you got to plan for it and you want to test your logic before you deploy it. So finding a way to access from a different time zone, uh, testing the various scenarios that you're doing, that's another best practice. So there's some undocumented features that I wanted to call attention to. It's useful. Um, when you're using our actions, I've already said you want to use the ISO values when you're uh, adding or updating a record. Um, there's some magic that happens. So and I'll probably demonstrate this here in just a second, but when you use our read action, in addition to getting back all of the fields that of a record, you also get back, if it's a date time field or a local date time, you're going to get an ISO token created for you automatically without your asking, and that's very useful to be able to display with. And then if you are doing an add or an update, ISO tokens are used if they are present. So let me see if I can explain what that one means. Um, Here I'm doing, this is the form that got created for us automatically. Let's investigate this update button. In the actions, we're doing the update financial transaction, and we are we specified that we want the order placed date to be the one from the form, P underscore order placed date. Well, order placed date is a date and time, and one of the tokens that it creates is :ISO. So when you hit submit, whatever was in the field, which you would normally refer to as order placed date, it's also created all these other ones, a UTC token, an ISO token. There's lots of stuff here when you're using our date and time picker. You can get the day, the month name, the year, all kinds of the week number, all kinds of things are available for you as subtokens. They're created automatically. But the ISO token is created, and when this is magic, we need to document this better, but when you specify that you want to use the P underscore order placed date, it checks automatically to see if there is an P order placed date colon ISO. And if the ISO exists, that's the thing that gets used. And if ISO doesn't exist in your context, then it uses the root P underscore order placed date. Most of the time, this doesn't matter, but it's useful to try and understand what's going on because if you try to follow this logic and, for example, display the P order placed date, um, it's not an ISO token, and yet I said a minute ago, anytime you're working with our date time, local date time, you need to send it an ISO, and so it looks like, hey, this logic we know it works. It's not sending it an ISO, but it works. I tried sending it that same date format and it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Well, it's because if an ISO token exists, it prefers that, and so you get that. Um, so that's a little thing to know about. I showed about the date format option, and uh, I also showed in the listings there's the ability to convert it to user time, and so we've been using that throughout. And let's see if I find the last thing to wrap up on. I think, yeah, we'll wrap up here. If you have any questions, it's a great time to ask. But I really think this topic in our documentation under configuration tokens, core tokens, because it's all about datetime as a core token, that it tells all about how to use these. So datetime now, what it looks like if you use it by default without any formatting, how to use if you provide on any of our date tokens, if you provide a pipe, you can format it using the Microsoft date formatting things. So MMMM means the uh, month name and spelled out fully versus capital MMM means the abbreviation of the month. All these things are defined. If you look up Microsoft date formats, you'll find it. So the formatting is universal on all the datetime functions. You can get the value and then format it the way that you want. So that's very useful. What to expect when you use the colon ISO, the datetime current, what you'll get. Um, Unix time is sometimes necessary for it's often you'll see it in JavaScript. The times are expressed in the number of seconds since I think 1980 or something like that. You can look up Unix time. And then these are useful if you want to compute 7 days into the past or 7 days into the future. You can use datetime relative. Datetime relative can also be used to with the optional relative to. So without relative to, it does it from the current date. But you can have some date in the future and then add 30 days or 5 minutes or whatever you want to it using this relative to and the add functionality. Add supports add and subtract supports seconds. Well, it's not add, it's add, and you can use -7 if you want to go negative, but supports seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. Um, yep, and you can get the week number as well. So those are a lot of various useful tokens that are there. Um, Great. Since there are no other questions to this point, I am going to call it there. Just want to say thank you for spending your hour with us. I hope it's been useful to understand some best practices around date and time and when you're logging records. Future topic, maybe we'll cover setting dates and times into the future. That's another valuable use case, but couldn't get to it today. We will have another interesting topic at the last Wednesday of next month. Thanks for joining.